back to a new AI Chronicles podcast episode. If you live in San Francisco or know about the AI culture in the city, you must have heard a lot about the booming startup culture and, the events that keep happening, founders, investors, angel investors, and so on and so forth. All these words used to jumble up in my head for the longest time, but then once I started attending the events, started talking with startups and different investors, I started to understand a little bit more. But today, just to talk about the AI startups, investments, and even the challenges, I have here Marianne with us to talk and discuss more about it. Hi, Marianne. How are you doing?
I am doing well. I'm doing well. Excited to be here.
Could you give us a brief introduction to yourself?
Definitely. So I've been leading engineering teams here in the Bay Area for the last 15 years. I helped take 6 different engineering team through different exits. I helped take New Relic IPO most recently. I was director of engineering at MindBody, where I grew the team from 7 to over 50 in San Francisco, Pune, and India. And then we got acquired by one of the largest PE firm in the world. After that experience, I started my own company, Upward Recruiting, to help companies hire more women engineers because I've always been one of the only women in the room and been passionate about diversity. Most recently, I joined as a general partner at a VC firm called Progressive Ventures. And personally, I'm very excited about investing in AI startups and especially startups led by women.
Awesome. That is so nice to hear. And yeah, we definitely need more of that for sure. So yeah, I'm really excited to talk about the startup culture and investments and all the venture stuff with you. But since I mentioned about the AI startup culture, especially in the Silicon Valley and Bay Area, what are your thoughts about the this startup culture that has been booming for the last 2 years, if not more?
So I am so excited by the boom with AI. SF after COVID, as you know, took a big hit, but now
Right.
AI is making the San Francisco and the city boom again, which is super exciting. A lot of money right now is getting poured into AI because no other time in history have we ever had technology that is that advanced and strong as LLMs. And
Mm,
LLMs really disrupted all or will
so bit.
disrupt all sectors and all industry. And then what OpenAI achieved and released in such a short period of time has been there was no precedence
Hmm.
that ever happened. Really, I'm excited about it because every single industry will benefit from AI. It'll make every industry more productive. People will be able to build better startups faster because of AI. So I think AI will definitely revolutionize all industries. So I'm very
I
excited
bet.
about it.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah, that's very well said. And which areas within AI do you see as the most promising for investment in the next few years?
Definitely. I definitely think that anything with B2B will be
Mm,
very promising. And the reason why is because AI suddenly unlocks productivity like no other. So let me give you an example. So in the past, when I was building product,
mm-hmm.
to build a simple MVP, it took probably 5 to 8 engineers, 3 months to build an MVP. But now with AI, you can do it with one engineer in 6 weeks. And that's just one aspect of the product development that AI can help become more productive. But any tools, whether it's like sales, marketing, finance, AI will help make people more productive. So there's going to be a lot of productivity tools that are going to gain traction. And I think that that is the best sector to invest in with
Interesting.
AI.
Excellent. Okay. And what aspects of startup culture do you find most crucial for the success of AI ventures?
Yeah. So startup culture is a very interesting thing, right? Because in order to really build a scalable business, you need to make sure that your culture is made to help people thrive, right?
Right.
Whether it's AI or whether it's not AI, you need to make sure that your the startup culture that you are building is one of team team bonding. So people feel that they are safe, that they trust each other, that they can express their opinion. The other thing is crucial for startup is this culture where you move fast and you fail fast, which means that you don't go in your corner and then you build something for years and years and years and then you release it. Anytime you want to build a new product or a new feature, ideally you want to move fast, you want to
Mhm.
release it, you want to learn from it. And if it doesn't work, accepting that you're failing fast and trying again. So that's the second part of startup culture. Now, the
Mhm.
third part is innovation. And I think really that is when AI startup culture is really important because the AI is evolving so fast, right? If you think about the last 2 years, how we came from like no LLMs
Yeah.
to suddenly we have LLMs popping up all the time. Innovation is now more crucial than ever. That means that your entire team, including you as the founder or CEO, have to always keep learning about the different technologies, keep taking on new training, keep following the market, and implement a process where anytime there's maybe a new tool or a new LLM that gets pushed off, you have it in your process to iterate your product or use some of these tools to make you more efficient. So now more than ever, when you're building an AI startup, innovation and the pace of learning is extremely important and crucial for your startup culture to succeed.
That's true. Especially like, yeah, the growing number of tools and models that are coming out, just keeping up with it, it's like you're always on your toes. And I cannot even begin to imagine how the startup founders of the companies must be feeling like, oh, we have to do this, we have to do that, just to keep up with the market. But yeah, I guess you're right. It's very important for the startups to thrive. Makes sense. And so when I talk to different founders or, I have worked with a startup before, and it's like, so how important is the team composition in the success of an AI startup? And second part to that question is, what qualities do you look for in the founders and the early team members?
Definitely. So in the early stage of a startup, there isn't much when especially when you want to invest in a startup, there's not that much to look in except like the idea, right? The
Mm,
size of the market. One of the things that investors look for, and that is one of the most prevalent thing that they look for in early stage startup is the team member. Who are you as a founder and who is your engineering team? And there's a few things that investors look for in a founder. Number one, do they have the expertise, the technical expertise to execute on their idea? Number two, do they have an unfair advantage, right? And an unfair advantage as a founder could be either your expertise, like you have expertise that nobody else have, or you have experience that is very, very rare to acquire. For example, you spent like 15 years researching AI even before it was cool.
mm-hmm,
The third thing that could be an unfair advantage as well, other than like expertise and technical expertise and experience, is really your distribution channel. Now, more than important than ever with the rise of social media, how you can sell your product and who you can sell your product to is very
mm-hmm,
crucial. So do you have a distribution channel as a founder, right? Maybe you have over 100,000 followers. That's a huge plus for you because suddenly you
true.
can sell any product that you release and you can quickly iterate. So those three things I look for, like, do they have any kind of unfair advantage? Now, the second thing that we look for in a founder is their ability to motivate their employees and their ability to one their vision, their ability to have a
Mm-hmm,
vision and to motivate people with their vision. Because like startups, you don't have the capacity, especially at the beginning, to pay the crazy salaries that FANG companies pay.
Yeah,
So in
makes
order
sense.
for you to hire and motivate and keep the employees, you have to have the ability to always inspire them, to always motivate them to work hard, and to probably take a huge paycheck to work with you. And if you
Mm-hmm.
can do that, then you are definitely set up for success. Now, the third thing that investor look for is adaptability and perseverance. So very, very rarely the idea that you start with, that's the idea that will work and that's the idea that you will continue with. Because you have an idea, you release it, you learn from it, and then you kind of pivot. So do you have this, are you so attached to your idea that you don't want to pivot? That's one thing that I look for. But if you are adaptable, if you are persevering, if you have this, I'm going to hustle no matter what
Mm-hmm.
mentality,
Mm-hmm.
then you are most likely to be successful, because it doesn't matter the idea that you started with, you'll figure it out and you'll figure out how to pivot to be successful. So I would say those three things are extremely important in founders and early team members.
Mm. Wow. Okay. Did not think it from that side. So do you, what would you suggest or advise to the startup founders that are going or taking the bootstrap route? Because I met a few people or a few founders who are bootstrapping, and I feel like that must be quite challenging for those founders just to, doing it on all on their own. So do you have any advice for them, maybe?
Yeah, definitely. So when I started Upward Recruiting, I bootstrapped this company from the
Oh,
ground
wow.
up. There's a
Okay.
few advantage of bootstrapping. One is that you have full control over your company, and
Mm-hmm.
that means that you don't have to, try to report to any other investor or people who are giving you money, because as soon as people give you money, then you are responsible to them. So really you have full control on what you want to do. I think a
Mm-hmm.
few things that helped me is that when you are bootstrapping, because you need to figure out how yourself you can survive, because you cannot give yourself a salary from the
Yeah.
funding that you are receiving. First off, calculate the runway that you have.
Mm.
With your saving, with the runway, how many months can you survive being bootstrapped without any revenue? Because if you have 2, 3 years, then maybe you can take bigger risks. But if you have 6 months, then you are going to approach how you're going to build the startup differently. Once you figure
Mm-hmm.
out your runway, then figure out, okay, I have this runway. How can I start making revenue early on or prove product market fit? One of
Mm-hmm.
the things that I suggest is that, let's say you have an idea, instead of going and spending 3 to 6 months building that idea and then releasing it, figure out a way to build your MVP in 6 weeks. That means
Mm.
that you can figure out no code tool. It could be a landing page, it could be a YouTube video, anything that you can release to get customer feedback and to get it in the hands of customers. Because, like, the best case scenario is that suddenly you release it, you have a wait list of hundreds of thousands, and then you can go and release and you can get funding for it, and
Mm.
then you can extend your runway that way. I think that's the biggest thing for Upward Recruiting. Myself, I was able to figure out within like a few weeks how to make revenue from my idea. And then when I started making revenue, then suddenly my runway expanded.
Mm-hmm.
So figure out, how can you make revenue early on? What is the MVP? What can you release to the customers? Even if it's not your ideal feature set, is maybe you can figure out one feature that you can test out and bring to the market. So with all of that, you'll be on your way to successfully bootstrap your startup.
That's great, and I love it that it was your experience as well. So that is definitely very important. Okay, so talking about challenges, what are some common leadership challenges that founders face in AI startups?
Yeah, and I think the some of the leadership challenges that they will face now is that the pace of innovation
Mm,
is moving extremely fast. So
right.
maybe if they spent, 2, 3 months building a an API or a wrapper about OpenAI ChatGPT 3, right? It could be that in a few weeks, ChatGPT goes and releases like version 4 or version 5, which is very common. So suddenly they
Yeah.
have to redo some of these wrapper. Like no other time in history has technology moved this fast. It took LLMs 18 months to, reach, I think, like to reach millions and millions of users. So I would say just keep on learning, keep on being on top of what is coming up in the market, read a lot of like news article on what is happening with AI. And then
Mm,
another thing also is that don't try to build a product that will make, let's say, LLM more efficient, because the risk is that OpenAI or some other LLM providers will go and will build it and will release it, and then it'll make your kind of infrastructure tool that you are building adequate,
mhm.
adequated. So yeah, keep up with this pace of innovation. The second thing, and one of the most common challenge, is scaling and resources. So if you are building an AI product, most likely you are using LLMs, or you are using GPUs, and that could be expensive really fast. It's not
Right.
that expensive when you have hundreds of users, but as soon as you get thousands of users, it's going to take a lot of money for those GPU resources for using those wrappers. So I think once you're at a point where you have some traction, like you have maybe 1,000 users, or you can demonstrate that you're growing month over month, go and raise funding. So then you have the money to be able to pay for these resources.
Mhm.
So yeah, pace of innovation is moving fast, which is a big leadership challenge in AI. And then scaling and resource management is the second thing specifically for AI.
Got it. Got it. That makes a lot of sense. And so, okay, so we discussed the leadership challenges and, all the different things about startups. So, how do you see the landscape of AI startups evolving over the next decade?
So the thing is, because AI is moving so fast, we can make some prediction about what is going to happen with AI
Yeah.
startups. So a few things, that a prediction that I can make is that AI will disrupt every single industry that we know of, from healthcare and drug discovery to autonomous vehicles, to fintech, to agriculture. So every single industry will be disrupted somehow by AI.
Hmm.
So that is pretty much a given. The second thing that we could predict is that now people will be more productive than ever. So with AI, with LLMs, one person can probably do what 10 other people can do because of AI. So this rise in productivity is going to be huge for us, because we're going to see the rise of solopreneurs. Suddenly, one person with AI can probably do what 10 others can do. What that means is that people will be able to build startups
Mm,
at a faster rate. More people will get into building startups because suddenly the resource constraint is no longer as applicable with AI. So we're going to see a lot of ideas starting to happen. Um, the third prediction is, probably the loss of jobs. So because now one person can do what 10 others can do, a lot of the jobs, especially that have manual labor or something that they have to do on a manual basis, will be replaced. There's going to be less jobs available. um, and it is scary, because then you're, okay,
mm,
well, is my job protected? We don't know yet, but if you look at history, every time there's a new technology that comes in, there's new jobs that get created. We don't
yeah.
know yet exactly, like we don't know yet what the new jobs are going to be for AI. I think in the next 10 years we're going to find out. There's going to be new roles that we haven't thought
Got
of, and that'll create a big boom, because anytime there's like new roles, typically they're higher paid, they have like better benefits. So we're going to
Yeah.
see a boom in the economy because of AI. Um, Other than that, I don't know what else I can predict, because we are moving so fast, and maybe in 2 years the world is gonna look completely different.
Yeah.
One of the things that I saw is like Tesla now is about to release this humanoid, which basically does task that humans do, and they can move the same way that humans do, and they can do a lot of the manual labor um, with very low cost. I think they cost 10K. So maybe the world is going to look like an iRobot. We don't know yet, but I'm excited to see what is going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, if that robot can fold my laundry, please be my guest.
Ex- that is my first thought process. Can
Yeah.
this robot fold laundry? Because that
Yes,
will make
please, Jesus.
everyone's life
Yes. So much easier. My
better.
gosh. Yeah.
Exactly.
Um, and I agree because I was actually going to just ask you about what do you think about people being scared of AI stealing their jobs, but you answered it well that, it will create more jobs in the future. We just don't know yet. I mean, who would have thought prompt engineer would be a job role? I
Exactly.
certainly did not. Yeah. So, yeah,
Exactly.
very nice.
We don't know yet what those jobs are
Exactly.
going to be, but I think the most important thing for anyone is that they keep learning. There's a lot of boot
Exactly.
camps about AI, about prompt engineering, about fine tuning, about RAG. Just go and learn about it, so then when these new jobs happen, you already have
Yeah.
more knowledge than 90% of the population, and you're going to be in a really good position to get those jobs.
Agreed. Agreed. And okay, so what impact do you think regulatory changes will have on these startups and investments?
Yeah, so I think that there's going to be a lot of regulatory changes in terms of like privacy and
Mm,
compliance. So I think it's not that it's going to kind of disrupt some of those tools that are going to exist. I think that a lot of these tools have to start thinking about like compliance and privacy very early on. And by the way, that could be a new job that is created, like AI compliance or AI security, something that before didn't have that much traction.
hmm
So I definitely think that as founders, you got to keep up with all the privacy and security and the compliance aspect that the regulatory environment will bring. Now, the thing with regular regulatory is that they move extremely slow, right? So
Ah,
which means that it's not going to happen tomorrow. It may happen in a few years, and by the time that it gets implemented, you probably will have a lot of warning that this will get implemented, because it
mm,
takes times for laws to pass. So I would say just keep on checking with your local government, your federal government, what is happening, what kind of laws that they are talking about, and that'll help you keep up with it and making sure that you're not taken by surprise.
got it, got it. Okay, just one last question for
Yes,
you.
of course.
You shared the advice for the founders who are bootstrapping, but if you like, what advice would you give to the aspiring founders looking to start their own AI ventures?
Yeah, I would say don't be afraid, just do it. And I think the biggest advice is that figure out how you can build a minimum viable product in 6 weeks or less. That means that if you need to build a wrapper around ChatGPT and you need to call APIs, do it. The most important part is not that you create a technology that the world has never seen before. The most
Mm,
important part is that you get your idea into customers' hand, so then you can learn from it, and then you can see if there's a valid product need for your idea. So figure out, okay, I have 6 weeks to get something that users can work with, they can
mhm,
start experimenting with. How do I do that? Do I use API? Do I use custom GPTs? Do I use no code tool? Do I implement a demo and a landing page? Make a plan, execute on it. Once your idea is out there, and then you can start learning from user behavior. One of the things that I love to do is I like to take like 6 users that are my ideal user, and then I like
mm,
to observe them using my product. So then you can learn from them, you can ask feedback from them.
right.
Also, the advantage of doing this is that you don't need to then, spend thousands and thousands of dollars developing this complex product, not learning from it. You can quickly do it in 6 weeks. You can learn, you can iterate over it. And if this AI idea doesn't work, don't be afraid to pivot.
Got it. Got it. That is a very valuable advice. Thank you so much, Marianne. These were all the questions I had, and I learned a great deal of things about startup culture and investment. And I hope my audience will get some value as well from our conversation. Thanks again for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.